Welcome to another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast. I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure to subscribe, like, share, leave your comments. And for all of your real estate needs in South Florida, make sure to check out Rafi the Realtor on Instagram. Make sure to check out the weekly newsletter where you can find all of the up to date information regarding residential real estate, restaurants, fun things to do, real estate news, real estate statistics. Make sure to check it out. You'll be very happy you did. Without further ado, we have Chris. Is it Moffett or is it Moffett? How do I pronounce it?
Moffett. Yeah.
Moffett. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody
So
just
kind of
calls me
like
Moff though. So
Moff. Right. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. So you hail from Tampa
Yeah.
and the other side where it's a little bit less hectic, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good spot. I've been down in Tampa for coming up on 2 years now. So I was in New York City for about seven. Before that, I'm born and raised in Virginia. And then I moved to New York when I was 23 or yeah, 23, was there for about 7 years. And I've been in Tampa since about July of 2022.
Cool, bro. Okay. I've actually never been to Tampa, man. So that's nice. If I
It's a
if
good
I go,
spot.
I'll have
Yeah.
to check it out. So
Right
to
on.
introduce you, my brother, for whoever knows who Rich Cooper is, Chris or Moff is quite a good friend of his, to say the least. They work together. They do the Unplugged Alpha podcast together. They have their ladies' night that they do together. I've watched many of the videos. I got some criticism when I did the video with Rich, not from Rich, but from some of Rich's viewers that came over to my channel. They're like, "Oh, you haven't even read his book." But I've watched so much of Rich's content, dude. Like in so many videos of his. So I've seen you many times. It's really nice to be able to finally talk to you one on one.
Thanks, man.
You
Likewise.
and I, dude, you played a very big role in connecting Rich and I. So I really appreciate that, bro. I don't know if you remember, but
No, remind me, refresh me on the story.
well, I essentially I was trying to reach out to him, and he was doing a live. So I reached out to get on the live to actually talk to
Yeah,
him.
this is coming
And
back to me now. Yeah, because I think we chatted what behind the scenes, and
right,
then I kind
right,
of mentioned to email him, and yeah, yeah. All right, no, I remember that. I remember that exchange. Yeah. Oh, cool, man. Right
appreciate
on.
you.
Well, it's interesting to
Thank you,
see
bro.
things come full circle then.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. Yep. So I appreciate you for that. So
Yeah.
aside from that, just going through the list on Instagram, and guys, follow Moff Moff underscore unplugged on Instagram to check him out. Obviously, if you don't know who Rich Cooper is, get to know him, and I know you'll love their content that they do together. So podcast host with the Unplugged Alpha, traveler, power lifter. You do some blackjack. You have obviously gotten to know Rich, I assume, before you were doing it with him. You came across his content. Obviously, you really love what he has to say.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit. We're not going to go too long on upbringing and things like that, but give us a little bit of an idea of how you came to discover some of his stuff. You know, where you were holding in life and what brought you there.
Yeah, man. Like most people that discover his work and other kind of people in the red pill, and I don't even tend to use the word red pill much anymore because I think the definition has now been so bastardized and lost that we try to stay away from it. We prefer the term, unplugged, unplugging, the whole matrix metaphor. But I had a string of relationships in my 20s, long-term relationships that were just not working out. And like most guys, I was the leavee, not the leavor, right? And so I was spending a lot of time and a lot of equity into these women, and things just weren't working out. And there was a particular relationship I was in my late 20s that was the most serious of all, where uh, had the apartment and the dog. We had plans to get married, talked about kids' names, really everything that your average guy kind of goes through when he meets a girl that he wants to kind of be with and wants to do the forever thing. And there were always problems in the relationship. And there were always things that I was trying to fix. I was a big Captain Save-A-Ho kind of guy. I was very much, this woman is sort of comes from this checkered past with her family and her upbringing and having to become an adult very quickly. She was abandoned and sort of disowned legally by her biological father when she was a teenager. And she harbored a lot of resentment, obviously, for that. And so we had very few conversations on that. I remember sitting across from her at the table one time. We were at dinner or something like that, And she goes, no matter what, as long as you and I both shall live, regardless if we're married, have the house, how many kids we have, you're never allowed to have an opinion on my relationship with my father. You're never allowed to say anything about it. You're never allowed to inquire about it. You just don't get to talk about it. And I thought that was kind of an odd thing, but I went along with it. And I said, okay, well, look, that's what she wants. So, it was the whole happy wife, happy life thing. And there were other problems in the relationship and other things that I wasn't getting what I had wanted. I'd been in relationships where girls would want to rip my clothes off 24/7. And with this girl, it just wasn't there. I wasn't getting sort of that sexual desire filled by her. And I started kind of going on the internet. I started kind of trying to figure out where I was going wrong. And I was watching a lot of YouTube because this was still during COVID and I was in New York. So I was locked in the house. Yeah,
Lo
go
and
ahead.
behold, the bald man appeared.
so,
The
yeah,
McLaren pulled across the screen, and you're like,
something
I
like that. Yeah, and so I was watching YouTube and I was typing in like I think what I was searching was it was like how to be a this is how bad like the blue pill beta conditioning was, and it was like how to be a good partner to a girl with daddy issues or a girl without a father or something like that. And one of the suggested videos that popped up was this bald dude in a car, and it was, at that point, I don't know how many hits it has. It's got well over 1 million at this point, but it was three women to avoid dating. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And clicked on it, and this guy started talking about, this is why you avoid women with daddy issues. They're never going to see you as a strong masculine man. And instantly I was just hooked. Everything this guy was saying was like hearing the gospel for the first time. He was able to, it was almost like he was talking directly to me. The things that he was identifying and the things that he were saying that problems would come up in these relationships are the exact same problems that I would experience. And it was the first time I'd ever even been told, you don't have to date these people. You don't have to take them seriously. You're allowed to have boundaries. You're allowed to have preferences. You don't have to save these women. You can just avoid them. And
crazy, right?
so, yeah, and I went down the rabbit hole, and then I mean, I was just watching his stuff all day, every day, and started going through some of his recommended reading. Um, Eventually, the girl and I had broken up. I found him where we were kind of on the tail end, and there had been some issues about, led to the breakup, and we don't have to get exactly into what happened, but I ended up calling into his show a couple months after the breakup. I was still living in the same house, like watching after the dog. It was not a good situation for me to be in. For a whole month after we broke up, we still slept in the same bed, which is I don't wish that kind of like pain and
Oof.
torture on anybody, especially when
So no,
you're the one that
so no
wants to make it
sex.
work. No, 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 no. Like I'm 95% sure that she was on dating apps like in while she was on in bed with me. So she would wake up or go to bed or hide her phone. It was that messed up, man. And
Oh my God, dude.
yeah, the wanting to be intimate with somebody and touch them and hold them and then be basically disgusted by you is a really, really horrible feeling. But I eventually called into his show. I said, hey, man, I've been watching your stuff for a long time. I've got this one-itis. I'm trying to figure out how to get past it. What tips do you have for me? And, we had a conversation and I sort of had this epiphany. And I kind of looked around and said, I don't have a strong group of male friends. They either all left New York because of COVID and screwed off to like Miami or wherever the hell they were going to go. And it was that. Plus, I had spent so much time with this girl in this relationship that I basically turned away almost all my male friendships. So I had no support system. I had no sort of solid tribe. And
Did
the
she actively pull you away, or it was just easy because you were trying to do anything you could to make her happy?
Yeah, it was
Or
the
was it both?
latter. It was the latter. Yeah, it was more
Okay.
so I just became obsessed with this girl, and every waking moment I wanted to spend with her, and I was just completely head over heels. Um, and so I didn't want to do anything else, and I didn't want to hang out with anybody else. And so that night, as soon as I got off the call with him, and you can go back and watch the episode. It's from his before the train wreck series that he used to do with Sean T. Smith. I want to say it's episode 94. So if anybody Googles that, you'll be able to see my first appearance on the show. And then that night I joined his 1% community. And, you know, I have been a part of sort of his circle ever since. And we've grown closer, and we just really see eye to eye on a lot of things, to the point now where we become, you know, he's a mentor, he's a teacher, he's a person I really look up to. And in some ways, he's also a business partner at this point. So it's been a wild ride so far.
That's awesome, dude. No, he's looking back, he said some things that really clicked, especially when I had the thought and then he articulated it in a way that said, wow, this really fucking makes sense now.
Yeah.
You know, lots of different things. And I think he also has a very stoic way of doing it versus, say, I mean, it's very different. So I couldn't really compare it, but the way Fresh and Fit goes out of their way to be very controversial to piss people off, he says things as they are. He doesn't look to get views or to kick women off the show. It doesn't work like that. It's a very, quite frankly, I think he does it in a very mature fashion, and the things he says are very true. Let's see here. So, okay, so you started. Okay, so you've been working with him. What have been the experiences now having this channel for, doing the channel along with him? The women, when I'll watch occasionally the ladies' nights you guys together, and they tend to take it very well. And I think the reason they take it so well is, first off, because you both make very valid points, but you do say things that women can find hurtful, not because I disagree with them. I think they're very true, but just because, women are more emotional. They're sensitive. When you tell them something that may be true, especially when it's true, they don't like to hear it very much. But I noticed that from my experience watching the ladies' nights videos, they take it well. They seem to, most of the time, at least. So why do you think that is? Why do you think you guys are able to get through to them so well?
Well, we made a conscious decision that we were going to start doing the ladies' night. So originally, what it sort of the way that it stemmed, or the way that it was created, is that Rich had a late 30s, very attractive woman call into his show. She was like a fitness model, and she didn't dox herself, but he showed some of the guys like her Instagram. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, okay. But she was going across like, hey, look, I'm 38. I've been in a couple long-term relationships. I want to get married. I can't seem to figure it out. Help me. What do I do? And that video just like blew up over like 100,000 views overnight, which is a good amount for the channel. We'll get tens of thousands, like we'll get 100,000 views every now and then, but for it to do it overnight is pretty
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah.
And so he sort of started kicking around the idea with some of the guys in the close circle about, well, do we do a ladies call-in show? Do we kind of go and do what Kevin Samuels was doing? And at the time, I was really trying to really wanted to get more into the space, and I wanted to kind of start creating some content. So I volunteered, say, hey, look, we could kind of do something like this, and we can do sort of like a panel. And we just made a conscious effort to say, if we're going to do this, it's going to be about real, authentic conversations as much as we possibly can. Is this going to be the strategy that gets us 10,000 live viewers and hundreds of thousands in super chats and donations a month? Probably not. Maybe, probably not. It hasn't, gone that route. But I think the conversations that we're having are valuable for a few reasons. The reason we're doing this, a lot of people get on us because they're like, oh, you guys are trying to use logic with women and you're trying to tell them this and that. It's not quite it. What we're trying to do is we're trying to show people that women are pretty much women, no matter how old they are, where they come from, what they look like, how they were raised. They sort of all still have this firmware, this hard wiring at a baseline
Yes.
level. So when
Yep.
people get on Fresh and Fit or the whatever guys and say, well, that's just Miami or that's just Southern California, these aren't real women. And so we have the luxury of it being a call-in show, a virtual show, that we've gotten women from all corners of the world, all ages, all demographics, from
Mhm.
OnlyFans girls to housewives, right? So we've had a real wide range. And so we are just trying to kind of show that women are women, and go forth and protect yourself and manage this accordingly. And it's always funny because every single week I'll get a comment that's like, where do you guys find these women? You need to find real women. I'm like, like, these are the women. These are the real women that you see.
Mhm.
So, and I do think they tend to be a little more open to the advice. I do think they I try to set the stage early. I think when people go onto a show like Fresh and Fit or whatever, they kind of know what they're going to get. I
Mhm.
think the guests, if they don't know that, then they're just not paying attention and they're willfully going into that arena. And we've had a couple of girls from either of those podcasts that have come on, and one in particular came looking for and prepared for a fight, even though that's
Uh,
never how we phrased it. So she's the only guest Rich has ever had to kick off, but that's just because she came in with just
Looking
guns
for it.
blazing and we're
Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
have a conversation. So I'm not here to say that we're doing it better than anybody, that we have a better approach. I think the way that we do it is a little more, we like to kind of give the unsolicited advice. That's sort of the thing. And there's been plenty of women that have had said, "Hey, I implemented some of the things you guys said, or I didn't ever think about it like this," and it's been positive. And we generally think men and women are better together than they are apart. So, you know, if 99% of the women that come on, it falls on deaf ears, then fine. If we get a percentage of women that are like, okay, cool, like this is interesting, or I'll try to kind of go forth, then cool. We've had a positive impact. And that's just kind of what we're about.
I I think it's great. No, from what I've seen, they respond very well to it, bro.
A
Because
lot of them do.
I
Yeah.
think you guys also you actually want to help people, and it's not just you aren't just doing it to get some crazy reactions. And I think that's also why the both of you are going to be around for a long time, bro.
Well, I
I mean, if
appreciate
you
it.
keep, as long as you keep doing the content, you'll keep being relevant. It's my honest take. I told that to Rich because anyone who just looks for the shock factor, I think has an expiration date. You're providing value and you're doing it in a mature way. Sure, you make some jokes. Maybe there'll be a little bit of triggering and uh, people will take offense, but you're not coming at it with the intention of doing that. And I think that's what's gonna. Rich has been relevant for years, man. How long
Yeah.
has he been doing content already? Over 10
I
years?
think he launched the channel in 15 or
Yeah.
16 or four, something like that, maybe even 13, because he started, well, because it was mostly car stuff, right? Entrepreneurs and
Yeah.
cars. That was the original channel. And
Mm.
then he started kind of cranking out some of the other content. But yeah, he's been going strong and now he's got, two channels, three if you include the Clips channel.
Mm.
And he's done very well. He's got two books. You know, he's allowed me to come and do some of my own content. He's built a global, worldwide community of guys that are looking to put a dent in the universe. He's been a force of change for millions of guys out there,
Yeah, dude, it's great. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude.
for sure.
So, what are some fundamental things, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of it. What are some
For sure.
fundamental things that changed, that clicked in your brain when it came to being a better guy, being a more attractive guy physically, more attractive to women, setting boundaries, not being a simp? What are certain fundamental things that come to mind right away that guys have to start to switch in their brains in order to completely change the way that they approach women, meaning the way that they
Yeah.
appear to women right off the bat? What comes to mind?
You got to start understanding what women are. I think you have to understand that you cannot get mad at women for appealing to their nature. You can't get mad for the sun at being hot. You can't get mad at water for being wet. You can't
Mm,
get mad at women for being women. I think people too often rush to judgment that the way women can be sometimes cold or they can be uncaring to the average man is that it's often not a conscious decision. It's often
survival.
driven by survival and a subconscious mean or
Hmm.
a methodology. So, and it's not anything new. Women have like lower men that can't reproduce or lower class men that cannot fight, be dangerous, cannot acquire resources, cannot protect or provide, have always been invisible to women since the dawn of our species. So it's not like all of a sudden, oh my God, in 2024, modern women are broken. It's these filtering mechanisms have always existed. Now, social media has exacerbated that and has shown it on a global scale. It's a lot more visible now, but it's really easy for guys to just say modern women suck because they're just blood sucking parasites and they just want your money and these kind of things. And if you understand the core of a woman wants a guy who's a provider, a protector that can
Mm.
ensure paternity, that can gather resources at a high level, then how could you be mad at that? And the only reason a guy could be mad at that is because he is afraid of essentially doing the work that it takes to get there. And I think that's the
It's so
second
accurate,
thing.
dude.
That's the second thing for me. It was my awakening was it's such an easy logical equation. If I want better results, then all that I have to do is increase my own value. It's as simple as that. If I want tens, I've got to be a 10, or if I've got to level up, or if it's, I know what they call it the hoflation and things like that. And women generally will date up a few points, and men will generally date down a couple of points. So the idea, though, that the only thing separating me from where I am and where I want to be is just work, then cool, let's get to work. But fundamentally understanding the drivers behind feminine and female behavior is paramount, because if you don't understand it and you don't understand the drivers behind it, it's too easy to point fingers and say they're evil and it's a
Hmm.
conscious thing that they're doing, when you just have to surrender to nature. And once you do that, instead of worrying about the way things should be or the way you wish they were, you see things at face value, see things the way they are, and then you plan accordingly. I'm not interested in how
Beautifully
things
said.
should be. I'm not interested in how you wish things were or how better they should be. I'm interested in how things are and what it is. And if we can internalize that, then we can, make moves based on that.
It's beautifully said. It's adaptation. It's
Sure.
adaptation, like anything else. And the beautiful part is when I compare it to business, because it's very similar. Because I'm in sales, and ultimately anything you do, when one way or another, is a sale, whether you're conscious of it or not.
Totally.
If you're looking to get women, you're selling yourself, right? So everything to some degree is the idea of how likable are you, how desirable are you, how attractive are you in any capacity. So
Yeah.
Alex Hermosi, I have a feeling you've probably heard
Yeah,
of
I
him,
know his stuff. I
right?
actually did a breakdown of one of his videos 2 weeks ago on my show about the what I would do if I was starting over and single. I did a breakdown of that video. I thought it was interesting. But yeah, I know
I'll
Hormozzi's
I'll
stuff.
check it out. Interesting,
Yeah,
man. I'll
right
check
on.
it out. So he said something amazing that really clicked with me. He said a lot of people, when they're struggling, say they're on an entrepreneurial journey and they're struggling, they go, "Oh, why is this happening to me? It sucks, this, that, and the third." I've had those feelings before, no doubt about it. But he said something that really, really hit me. And he said, if you reframe your thinking and you say, look at all of these incredibly difficult things that I've overcome, now I know the more I go through these challenging experiences, the more I'll understand how few people are willing to go through those same experiences. And therefore, I have I've already put myself in a position that I just know so many other people won't get to, because they won't be willing to go through those challenges. So the same thing with men and women is, I know that as a guy, if I'm willing to become valuable to a point that most guys won't, most guys are not going to go to the gym consistently. They're not going to work and sacrifice social time. They'd rather do the things that are fun and enjoyable in the moment and chase the instant gratification. So I know that if they're doing all those things, and I'm perfectly fine with saying no to those things in pursuit of the things that'll really make me feel happy, and as a result of that make me more attractive to women, it just makes it so much easier, especially in a day and age where everybody's chasing the quick thing, the quick fix. So that's why none of this stuff really bothers me, because it ultimately, the 80-20 rule is becoming more and more prevalent, where it's really more, it's starting to become the 1090 rule, the 595 rule, maybe even the 298 rule. You know what I mean? And it's becoming
Yeah.
more and more of a concept. So quite frankly, man, from a competitive standpoint, I'm like, okay, just bring it on, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest with you.
There's so little competition even these days. I mean, even the baseline. I mean, look, like it's such a good way of putting it by Alex. I think one of the things that's been a focus for me this year and is going to continue to be a focus for me is actively and willfully putting myself into hard situations. You know, I look at guys like David Goggins and I look at guys that, actively putting yourself through suffering, understanding that that's what's going to make you better and that's what's going to separate you from the rest of the pack. And there's this phenomenon that occurs, I think it's in bison, where they have this instinct, like if a storm is coming, Instead of what most animals do, well, they run away from it, they try to outrun the storm. They go into the storm because they know that the fastest way out is through. Right?
I've
Think
heard
about
this
that. If it's
before. I've
coming
heard.
this way, instead of running away, they go through it. And just like that, they're past it.
Mhm.
Right. So I think that, look, humans are designed to seek comfort. We're designed to, we spent the last thousands of years running from, woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and predators and trying to survive. And so that is still not caught up to it yet. We're still seeking that. We're still trying to get away from those perceived dangers, but our brains have not caught up to the idea of you're probably going to be fine. We still have that instinct. What that real fear is death. Like, we fear death, the unknown. If you were ostracized from a tribe, or if you committed a social faux pas, or you made a big enough mistake, or you took a big enough risk, there was no safety net. It was death. That was going to be your result. But there's very few things in life, at least now in 2024, that if you make a mistake, or if you screw something up, or you make a bad business decision, that your reward is you're going to die. Like, that's probably not going to happen. But for most people, the idea of comfort is why we're on this earth. It makes me cringe every time I hear somebody say, "I just want to be happy." I go, "Well, why?" Because happiness is an emotion, just like sadness, just like, being nervous, just like embarrassment, and every emotion is fleeting. So to be so naive and to be so sort of arrogant, to think that you deserve a life where you get to be perpetually happy in this state of bliss, or that you get to just have this amazing life where nothing bad ever happens. First of all, it's a slap in the face to your ancestors who fought tooth and nail to pass along their bloodline to get you where you are today. But two, it's so wishful fairy tale thinking that it makes absolutely no sense, because there's not going to ever exist a world or a time where you're going to be happy or sad, even, or afraid or nervous all the time. Emotions are just emotions, and they're all fleeting, and they're all passing. This too shall pass. And so I know that going through a tough time is temporary, just like I know being happy is temporary. And I think what that more people should do is find a way to be present in those moments and in those emotions, and understand that in a kind of a morbid way, it's a gift to be able to even feel sad. It's a gift to be able to even feel depressed or nervous or scared, just like it's a gift to be able to be happy or have some sort of elation. And that if you know that feeling is fleeting and it's going to pass, it's all the more reason to be ever present in that moment and try to even hold on to it as much as you can, at least for happiness. But yeah, I totally agree that more people should be doing hard things. And if you're willing to do those things that people aren't, then the sky is the limit for you. And it's really what separates the 1% or the 5% or the 10% from the 90 or the 95 or the 99. It's just, are you willing to do the hard things that the person next to you on either side of you won't do? And yeah, I think it's a fantastic way to go through life if you're willing to put yourself through suffering and through hard times, knowing that on the other side of that hard time is greatness.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that everything you said, dude, was completely spot on, bro. And it's even hard to add to it because you covered everything. And I think that that's also why I really just don't have resentment for women as a whole. I zero, because I understand that their job is to create humans, and they must choose the most capable men to do so. And they must choose men who can protect them while they're doing it and after they do it. And so at the end of the day, if you're not a guy that's capable enough, why would you expect them to give you any thought or mind? All the more so if you are extremely capable, much more so than the people, a lot of the guys around you, and you start to notice that you're starting to get the attention that you want. It's evident that you've been doing the work, and you see that things start to work in your favor. And of course, everything comes at a challenge.
Sure.
Nothing's foolproof. You can have some of the best looking, some of the wealthiest, some of the most successful men who still get taken for a ride, who still get divorced, still get half of their stuff taken. That's, I think, where Rich and your content is so important, because it really helps you understand those nuances.
That being said, look, I do think that the idea of, the female overinflated ego is absolutely real. I do
Hmm.
think that, I hate to use the term hoflation, but I don't
Hmm.
know what another placeholder is it. But I do think that the type of women that are walking around today are ones that have been, their minds been poisoned by social media. They've been brainwashed by feminism, and it is harder to be, I wouldn't say it's harder. I would say the pool of women that should and can be taken seriously is smaller than it was maybe 15, 20 years ago, certainly 50 years ago. And again, it depends on who you want to lay blame to and who you want to be fault to. And it kind of really all depends on if how much you really understand women at their core, and if you really are the type of person that thinks that it's, they are herd animals, they are driven by trends, they are very much go along to get along.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of people out there that say, well, women don't take accountability, women don't take responsibility, and I don't see that as a negative thing. That is just, it is.
How it is what it is. I mean, I
It is
definitely
what
don't.
it
It
is.
definitely can be a pain in the ass.
Oh, for sure. I'm not saying it's I like it. I'm just saying it is what it is. And
It
so
is what it is.
then you have to adjust your strategy accordingly. Instead of trying to teach them how to do it, it's, what are you doing? Why are you trying to you can play or you cannot play, but you can't change the game.
Having enough understanding of when you see something right away, you don't even participate. When you see that there's a girl that you just know right away is there's no chance. It isn't worth participating whatsoever in any capacity. You've known through experience. You go, nope, not even a question. You can tell right away, even by looking at her. You don't even have to say anything. And it goes that way with women too. A girl who has enough experience, and I don't mean sexual experience, but she has enough of a wherewithal to know, okay, no, right away I can see how he looks, how he dresses, how he moves. Not going to work.
Yeah,
And
and women are way
some.
better at picking up on that than men are. That's what a lot
For
of
sure.
guys don't understand, is that women are extremely susceptible, animals. They are covert communicators. It's why, if you've ever been walking around with a girl or something like that, and she runs into a girl she knows, like, hey, how are you? Oh, hey, how's it going? This and that. Like, and you're just kind of tuning out. And then, she's like, okay, see you later. And then she turns to you and goes, oh, that girl's such a bitch. And you're like, what? You're like, oh, did you see the way she was talking to me, or see what she said it in this way? And you're like, what are you talking about, dude? Because we've just never needed to develop that muscle as much. Like, we're confrontational animals. Guys are just like, oh, okay, there's an issue. Well, guess we better fight, right? With girls, it's
Mhm.
like, whoa, I've got to figure out a way to self-preserve and get really good at sort of that covert, communication. So,
Well, nowadays,
but yeah,
well, nowadays that's changed a lot because a lot of guys are not willing to be confrontational. They're confrontational on the keyboard.
true. Oh,
Things are
yeah,
very
those are the
things have
best.
right. So things have changed a lot. Women are definitely more emotionally intelligent than we are on average, but they still pick very badly a lot of the time.
Horribly.
Um,
It comes up almost every show we do on Ladies Night. I don't think,
yeah.
every time I ask a woman about her past relationships, it's always like, yeah, I got into a 5-year relationship when I was 16, or a 10-year relationship when I was 19. And, I made all these mistakes. And I'm just asking, like, I always ask, like, where's your dad? What does your dad think about this? Where's your father? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, we had a woman on 2 weeks ago, I think, that said she started dating, I think the guy was 21 or 22 and she was 16 or 17. And I'm just going, how does this manifest itself? Why? Now, look, like, there's a 10-year age gap between my girl and I, right? She's 10 years younger than me. It's never been a problem because I met her parents, shook her dad's hand, right away, vetted me out, had a conversation. And I always give him a hard time. Like, he's a super laid back guy. He's like he's a 25-year-old in a 50-plus-year-old body. He's just that kind of guy. And we get along really well. But how many of these women will come on the show and they'll say, I was young and stupid. I didn't know any better. Right. It's like, well, then if that's the case, who needs to be making decisions for you? is it wise for women to be making their own decisions to a certain point over who they should be dating and who should they be taking seriously? Because if you really believe that women are so easy, but if women are easily manipulated or they don't have the new thing that's resurging right now is everybody's talking about the prefrontal cortex, is that if she's not over 25, she's basically a child, but at the same time she's allowed to buy a house, vote in elections, go off to war, but you can't pick her guy that she wants to date or marry. Um so yeah, it's we hear that at least once an episode. I was young, I'm stupid, I made a mistake, but at the same time women are just as capable as men and they should be making decisions. It's very oddly paradoxical.
But who's saying that women are not developed until 25 or
Oh,
some women?
women generally. It's older women that are mad that guys my age go for, you know, 20-year-olds. And it's 20-year-old guys that are mad at me because I am dating the women in his peer group that he has been trying to get after since he was 12, right? So
Yeah, right.
those are the two groups of people that are mad about that. The only people that have problem with age gaps are the ones that are disaffected by it.
It's so true. It's funny. It's funny being 30 now and realizing that when I was in high school and I saw like the hotter girls hanging out with guys a lot older because they had the nicer
I was mad. I was
cars.
like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
like, oh, he's
yeah.
probably a pedophile or whatever, like whatever, right? Like we all did the same thing. We probably did the same. He's probably gaslighting her. He's manipulating her. He's a dirtbag. He treats her like, shit or whatever.
And
Yeah.
that might not
And
have been necessarily false, but
right.
the truth is he had what we didn't have. It was knowledge, experience, money. Those in and of itself, probably more confidence, just from an age standpoint.
All the things that women look for.
All the things they want. Yep. Yeah, dude. It's very interesting. And this topic in general is one of the most to me one of the most interesting topics I can discuss.
Yeah, it's a hot button for sure.
It's just because I have such a desire to learn, to constantly learn more about it. And the real reason is because I live in a world as a straight man where if I want to navigate the world and eventually find a great girl and get married and have children, I want to do it right the first time. I'm not looking
Yeah.
to, and that's the goal. I want it to work the first time. I want to have a very happy relationship, a happy marriage. And also doing this podcast, any girl that sees how I do these podcasts and have these conversations, the girls that don't agree with it, that are like, this guy is, I don't like how he thinks, or clearly we're not right for each other, save me
Yeah.
the time.
This isn't for you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's great. Now out in the open how I think. And I don't think I really don't even say things that are that crazy. I definitely am old school, do things more of in a traditional way. If you ain't about it, you ain't about it. That's okay with me. It wouldn't have worked anyway.
Yeah.
So saving me the time.
Well, I think what's
Now,
interesting about that too, as well, is that I've found that because I used to be pretty secretive about this kind of stuff. Like I wouldn't talk
mhm.
about, like, you still don't. You don't talk about like Red Pill, but I would be like, oh yeah, I wouldn't tell people that I was in this community or that I did podcasts or that any of that stuff.
Oh, well, maybe that's more of a
And
short term thing.
well, yeah, maybe for sure. But eventually, like, stuff comes out. And it's what I found is that if you just got to stand on it, right? You just have to own it. Like, women will respect a guy that owns his stuff and doesn't apologize for it much more than they will if you're like, yeah, I play a character and I do it to get views and it's kind of a facade, because guys will do that. They think that, it's like, it's it's girls that go on dates and like, oh, did you vote for Trump? The guy's like, oh, well, I'm a support. I don't know. I kind of like his policies when it comes to this. Like,
Kind of in the
no, that
middle. I'm
guy's,
kind of in the middle. I don't
yeah,
really
right.
care.
Like, I don't like politics, but a guy that's like, yeah, I voted for Trump. Like, I would vote for him like 8 more times if it was possible. At first, she's like, what the? And she goes, wow, this guy is standing on his, shit, and he's
Or
not.
she just will hate you, and that's fine too, man.
Yeah, that
You
too.
know?
But you know what? Maybe she'll, go home with you at the end of the night,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
she's like, well, you're not long term, but maybe if I get hopped up on one or two. So, but yeah, that's mostly when I see guys start to apologize for opinions or what they do, dead in the water. I mean, if you're gonna own something, absolutely own. I see this on like Twitter and stuff too. I see guys that'll make these opinions and then the mob comes for them and then they have to follow up with like an apology, like, oh, well, I guess I should rephrase it. I'm like, no, man. If you say something, stand on it and you own it. That's it.
Yep.
I don't care if it gets a billion views or one view. Like, you own your stuff, and I always have.
You got me. I could not agree more. I could not agree more. You're 100. You're right. Period. There's no opinion on the matter. Yeah, man. This is some good schmooze, as they say. No, man. I mean, I'm just trying to think of some other things. I mean, I'm sure you and I, if we were in person, I can talk to you for hours about these sorts of things. Uh, what kind of advice in general can you give? Say, I mean, it applies to guys of all ages.
Yeah.
I'll just give you an example. I met I met two guys recently that have been well, no, one of them got divorced I think 10 years ago, and
Mm.
the other one maybe 2 years ago. And I noticed right away just by meeting them, their biggest issue was that they got taken for a ride, was they were not able to set boundaries. I could tell just by looking at them. And after talking to them for a couple of minutes, they admitted that was definitely an issue. I don't know who they were married to, and I barely know these people, but they admitted that that was definitely a thing. So what can you kind of, I think
Yeah.
that's
I mean, I think it's a
such a
huge
major
problem. I think that's
major
probably
factor.
one of the biggest ones. And I think it's everywhere. I think it's in our movies and TV shows. I think it's in modern, mainstream politics and news. It's everywhere you look. The woman is supposed to be leading. Men are these bumbling idiots who just need to shut
Simpsons
up.
Family Guy.
Right. I mean, you
Uh,
name it. Like go down the line. Modern Family. I mean, it doesn't. It's
Family.
endless, right? So
Yeah.
it's the leader of the family. The patriarch is no more. It is a modern men are a caricature in mainstream media and television and movies and film, and so guys will see that and they'll emulate it. The happy wife, happy life trope is one of those things that just will not die, and guys are very logical and they think, well, she says this will make her happy, so I will give her this. And then when they realize that doesn't happen, then it's one more thing, then it's one more thing. And all of a sudden they become this complete doormat, just hoping
With Rich says with the socks, what does he use? He has an example he always uses.
the socks don't go in that hamper, they go in this one. Or you need to
Right, right, right,
separate the
right, right.
colors out of the laundry or into this. And then that's
You're
that
you're there,
first
you're
step.
there, you're there. She's standing with her arms crossed in the washroom, and he's bent over with his like white tidy whities with
Yeah.
his like his three chest hairs. And he goes, "Honey, is this it, did I pick up? Did I put those socks in?
Did I
No."
do it
And she's
right?
looking at
Yeah.
him. She's looking at him. It's like it's not about the socks. I wish you weren't such a pussy.
Yeah. Yeah, most men don't know how to say no. Most men
Yeah.
are pleasers. Most men don't, and it's all out of fear. They think that if they stand up to their girl or their wife or their LTR, whoever, she's going to go find somebody else, or she's going to get mad and she's going to leave. When in most cases, it's quite the opposite. Women need to be stood up to. Women need to be put in their place. We call them, these are competency tests or shit tests. They need to, the reason they do that is because they women pick fights just so they can test a man to see his level of competence. And she wants to see if you're going to put her in her place and make her, stand up to you.
Mhm.
And a lot of like guys that get really good at this, they'll eventually get their girl. Now, they don't ever truly end. Shit tests are always going to
No,
happen,
they're forever.
but
They're forever. Yeah.
you can limit the frequency if you're really good and you understand
Sure.
it. What you can
Sure.
really do if you get like your black belt in like womanology,
You throw it back.
your woman will essentially start to self regulate. She'll stop herself before she even does it, right? Or she'll be waiting for you to say something, and she's like, "Oh wait, that was stupid." You don't have to say anything. She'll be like, "That was really dumb what I just said." And sometimes you go like, "Yeah, you're right." Like, right? You just
Especially if you
yeah,
not only don't get angry, but you respond in a humorous way, in a sarcastic way, where she goes like, "Oh, you're such an asshole,"
yeah.
and then
That's when you know you've won. When she starts calling you an asshole, like, "Oh, you're such a douche." She's like, "Yeah, well, you know who kind of guy, yeah." But that's it too. Like amuse mastery, like everything. It's funny. Like everything she
you
does
walk
is
away with the
cute.
hand towel, you walk away, you throw the
Yeah,
hand towel over your shoulder, and you just
yeah. It's like, oh, you're adorable. That's the kind of thing. It's kind of like you've got to sort of treat women like you got to take them as seriously as you would take like a 9-year-old. It's just a lot of them never sort of surpass that adolescence or that sort of childlike
See,
behavior
this is like super
because,
triggering shit that you're saying, but I
oh
know
yeah,
exactly
absolutely.
what you mean. But I know exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, if women are very honest with themselves, if they're super honest with themselves, they'll listen to what you're saying now and they'll be like, he's kind of right. it's just more of they need to make sure that you're the man you say you
Right.
are. And so
Because they
they
want
action.
guidance. They want
Sure.
guidance. They want to be led. They want to be
Yep.
led by the right guy.
Yep.
Women like use these things are popping up every now and then, like on TikTok or Twitter, whatever. But it's like, that they love, like, where are we going? I don't know. Where are we driving off to? Where are we flying to? We're at the airport. What gate do we have to be? Don't know. Don't care. My boyfriend's taking care of everything, or my husband takes care of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's them in their primal feminine essence. Like, that's their dream. Just I don't know where we have to go. He's going to take care of it. I'm just going to be like the passenger princess
Fashion
thing. Like,
princess. Yep.
I'm just along for the ride. I don't have to drive. I don't need to hold the map. Don't need to know where we're going. I just have to get in the car and go to where we're going to go.
That's
But yeah,
98% of them without question would prefer
yeah,
that if they're honest with themselves. And then the ones that are like, no, I don't like that. It's like, okay,
they're lying.
just
It's
you're
beta.
the
It's weeding out the betas. That's what
sure.
they're trying to do. Like, they're trying to weed out the guys who be like, oh, well, she says she doesn't like it, so I'm going to do what she says. It's Women are terrible at identifying what they want and what they actually respond to. There's a huge difference between a woman telling you what she likes and what she actually responds to. I just
Mhm.
want a nice, caring, sweet guy that buys me flowers and brings home chocolates and is home on time and yada, yada. And guys line up by the thousand saying, well, here I am. But she goes, but oh, well, not you, and not you, and not you. So we know that the type of women that's why when you see a lot of these studies, and the reason that I have issues with guys that strictly rely on self-reporting data like polls. There's a very popular guy in this space that runs a lot of polls on like Twitter, and he kind of turns that into research, and it's fundamentally flawed because you're taking women's responses and hoping that they'll be honest about, or assuming that they're going to be honest about their
Oh yeah.
preferences in men. And we can see that it's demonstrably untrue. We can see that women will say they want X, but they will chase after Y. They'll say they
They'll
want a
say
nice, sweet guy, but they'll fly across the country to meet with a felon, right? Like, so
oh, they're not going to tell you a lot of the time what they
right.
really like. But then again,
Well, they think they like it. That's the thing. They're convinced that that's what they actually like,
I think
but they really won't. And a lot of it is self-regulating too. A lot of it is
I give
PR. Like,
some
women are
women
the best
definitely
PR. Yeah.
some women absolutely will be honest. Like if I have a good enough
In the
connection
right setting, in the right audience,
and I
for
can
sure.
communicate a girl who's really mature, I could be like, that's what you like. Just be honest about it. They're like, yeah, you know, they'll tell you if they see that you're just your shit, meaning in terms of understanding humans in general, and you're willing to call things out and say, let's just be real here. You'd be surprised how many will be actually kind of be like, you know what, yeah, I kind of like that dude with the face tattoos. Not that
Yeah.
I personally I've never asked it. I'm sure there have been girls that I've interacted with that maybe had a thing for it. I don't think so. That was just using that as an example. But in terms of tattoos in general, absolutely, no question about it. Women love tattoos. I would
Yeah.
say probably most of them. They might not marry a guy that has a lot of tats just because of judgment, social norms, parents, yada yada. But especially from a sexually from an attraction standpoint, not even a question.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, and it's what they signify, right? Tattoos signify, I mean, they're a little bit watered down now because it seems like everybody's got tattoos now. I mean,
Right.
but what it used to signify was sort of this rebellious or dangerous sort of signals, or you were a warrior in a lot of these. You had to earn your tattoos. You were
Mhm,
a
mhm.
warrior. You went through significant loss and great pain and great trial and strife to earn those markings, because the idea was that you were forever changed, and these were representative of, these were scars essentially that you wore, but they were honor scars. And so that's why, to me, I used to be back in my younger days. I was really, really into chicks with tattoos. Like, I dated girls that had, bodysuits, like covered, like head to toe. I thought it was
Wow.
the
Yeah.
sexiest thing, dude. And I dated enough of them. And what I realized through my own personal experience, and I'm sure there's probably,
That's
data
funny,
somewhere to
dude, because
back this up.
I would have never,
Go ahead.
from a
Yeah,
dating standpoint,
long time ago.
I wouldn't have had to watch one Rich Cooper video or any of these videos.
I was into it.
My signaling, no, but I'm talking about seriously dating.
Yeah.
Even just not seriously dating. It's not really not my thing. But seriously dating, oh hell no. I don't even think I'm really, because I grew up Orthodox, a religious Jew, and tattoos are kind of frowned upon, even though a
Yeah.
lot of Jews nowadays have tattoos. Um, I don't think I could date a girl with a tattoo now, and because I don't have any yet.
Mhm.
The high chance I'll get one maybe I think I may get one when I get married. If say my girl and I, neither of us have, I I don't know. It's like a weird thing because I don't know if I would date a girl now that has them, but I think if I already had, I may be more likely to do it if she had like one or two and they were kind of hidden. They weren't
Yeah.
anything crazy. They were very small, kind of.
That's not what you're
But
seeing now. You're seeing a lot of, I'm seeing one of two things. I'm not seeing a lot of these, like, I dated a girl that had one like hidden behind her ear. Or she had it, under her, like top of her rib cage, behind her shoulder blade. Now you're seeing like full sleeves,
mhm.
whole arms covered or legs, or you're seeing, this is the worst. I cannot wait for this trend to die. You're seeing sort of this sticker book look where they get these sort of 2 inch by two
Yes,
inch
yes,
tattoos and
all
they're
over the
just
place.
poked all over their body, like arms, legs, ankles, whatever.
I think it
And
looks
they're just
terrible.
like, it looks horrible. It looks like, I call
So
it
bad.
sticker book tattoos. It looks like
Yeah.
somebody took a sticker and just stuck it on you,
It's
and
just
that's what you're
random,
wearing
like
now.
a heart, a
Stuff that
pony, a
doesn't make sense.
pencil,
A
a
wheel of
dildo, a
cheese.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just the most
SpongeBob.
random.
Like it
It looks so dumb, dude.
it's
Oh my
terrible
God.
looking. And one thing that I found, this is in my own personal research and my own personal experience, there is a direct correlation between the amount of tattoos a woman has and how messed up she is up here. I've just seen it. I don't know what the science is behind it.
You don't
I think it's got something to do about, you want to feel pain. I mean, for women, I look at it as like for like cutting for a lot of women. I mean, really what you're doing is
I
you're
think it applies
stabbing
to guys
yourself with a
too.
needle. Go on.
I
How do you
think
mean?
I think with guys, if guys are heavily tattooed, it could definitely mean that there's something up, that they've probably gone through some serious shit. They probably have some trauma. A guy, if you have maybe a sleeve, or you have, even if you have a nice amount of tattoos, I don't think that necessarily means that it, could be you were in the military, in the SEALs, or
Sure.
you you may be a fighter, a pro MMA fighter. A lot of them have tattoos. I think it's definitely less of a signifier of any serious issues on a guy, just based on the fact that men are meant to go through challenge and tribulation. It's what makes us better. I know that
That's
Rich
the
talks
difference.
about that often, but that's a huge, major difference.
Yeah.
I still think that a guy, for example, that has his face tatted, for
No,
example, and
that's
has
yeah.
but also the kind of tattoos you're getting. If you're getting tattoos that are just so dumb, for example, I don't take you for a person that has it, but I would still think it was dumb if you did. A guy, someone who has a girl's name other than maybe his mother or
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
that
yeah.
died, you get a tattoo of your girlfriend's name or your wife's name. It's just stupid, bro.
Tacky.
If it's not just tacky. If you break off, if you break the relationship from that person, and now you have their name there, dumbest thing in the world. Dumbest thing in the world, in my opinion. It's
Yeah.
so ridiculous. There was a
But
guy
you
who,
hit the nail on the head really quick. Like you hit the nail on the head
yeah,
though. That's the main difference is that women are broken by trauma, men are built by it. And that's,
mhm,
I think, the big difference there. I think that, yes, if I see a guy that's got tattoos, I mean, now you don't even know. Now, because it's just a fashion statement. Now it's just, it used to mean something. And now it's just, I mean, I'll see a 19-year-old with like full sleeve and it's just stupid looking shit. But,
mhm,
and the face tattoo thing, I've never understood that. I don't know. I haven't been tattooed in almost over a decade, but I used to, do it pretty often. And I would routinely run into guys in shops where they said, "Look, I they won't touch your face or your hands unless you were blasted like head to toe. Unless you were like here to your ankles tattooed, they wouldn't touch your face and they wouldn't touch your hands." And like I'm not really seeing that much anymore. So um it'll come back to bite these kids at some point. I mean, it'll come back
mhm.
to bite these people in some form of fashion. I think it's right now it's a trend, but I think it'll go out of style just like a lot of things. This is the only thing though, this is the only trend that is permanent. You can take off, Junko jeans or pop collared shirts, but you can't take off a face tattoo.
It's really dumb, dude. even someone like Post Malone. I mean, yeah, man, you're rich, but dude,
Yeah.
you look so dumb. I mean, I
It's
listen.
his thing. It's his
It's his
brand,
life.
you know?
It's his life. Listen, it works for him. It's his life. It works for him. I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
understand it. I really can't understand it. But hey, that's just me. Maybe I'm not as fun and exciting. It is what it is. I'd hang out with Post Malone. Don't get me wrong. I'd hang out with him.
Yeah, sure, right? I bet he's a good
Seems like a
time.
super seems like a super
Yeah.
cool dude. If he asked me, "You think my tattoos are dumb?" I would tell him straight to his face. Yeah, I think they're.
Like, yeah,
I'm literally like that though. I am 100%
right.
like that. If Post Malone asked me, "Do you think my face tattoos look stupid?" I'd say, "Yeah, bro. Honestly, I do. I think you're a really cool dude. So I don't give a fuck. Enjoy your face tattoos." But yes,
Right.
I think they look pretty stupid, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I could, and if he
Yeah,
said
yeah.
you're an asshole, bro, we're not hanging out, I'd be like, okay, cool.
Okay.
You asked me for my honest fucking opinion. I'm gonna be like, no,
Yeah.
they look awesome, dude. They're so cool. Be my friend. Because a lot of people would, because they say you have an opportunity to meet someone like that. Don't say whatever you think would make him. To me, it's like he's just like a rich kind of chunky dude that smokes a lot of cigarettes and I don't know. I don't. That in itself is a separate rabbit hole when it comes to celebrities that I don't
Yeah, yeah.
understand. This years ago, I came to this realization, but from a business standpoint, sure, I wouldn't want to fuck up a business opportunity. So I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to offend anybody. But I really don't look at anybody on the planet and say, I'm going to kiss their ass strictly because they are a certain person. No matter how much I respect them, no matter how much I value their accomplishments, I'm not going to treat them like they're some sort of god. I'm not going to do it. I saw, George St. Pierre, the fighter,
Yeah, of
GSP.
course.
When he saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, I was shocked when he did this. He saw Arnold Schwarzenegger, he got on his knees and he was practically praying to him. And I was like, dude, do you realize who you are? Like
Right.
you are
One
so
of the greatest of
well
all time.
respected.
Yeah.
One of the and it's like it's nice that you have such a reverence for Arnold Schwarzenegger, but quite frankly, man, I mean, you're just as impressive as he is. I don't really get more so, if anything. I'm like, I don't on equal levels. If you'd like to go that route, getting on your, I wouldn't get on my knees for fucking anybody except for who the woman I'm proposing to. Um, and it's like, what? It was so surprising to me, very shocking to
Strange.
me. It's
Yeah.
weird, bro. And Arnold,
Parasocial relationships in general are weird like that. I mean, I'm sure that, I get this often. Rich gets it all the time. I'm sure you get it sometimes. Like, you do this content stuff long enough, people start to feel like, or sort of create this relationship they have with you in their head, right?
oh,
So,
dude, I was at a party. I was at a party and I saw somebody I haven't seen in a while, and he was talking about my podcast, and we were drunk because it was like a Jewish holiday, bro. He grabbed my hand and he kissed it, and I pulled it away. It wasn't even like in a gay way. He was trying to just
right. It was like
like show
reverence and
like
respect.
you're
Yeah.
like I love your and I pushed him. I was like, bro, what are you doing, dude? I was like, I'm a fucking normal dude. I just have a YouTube
Yeah.
channel. I make content that I like, and you appreciate. What are you doing, dude? Like, I was like, so it pissed me off that he did that, And I know he's a straight dude. It wasn't some kind of, And I just looked at him and I was like, bro, get your shit together. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't want anybody fucking kissing my hand. Nobody except my wife. Well, my wife can feel free. That I
Right.
always think that's sweet. But what the hell is that shit? It's weird.
Bit odd.
So that was just the weirdest shit, bro. I was like, oh, dude, I'm just a 30-year-old dude. We're selling real estate with a YouTube channel. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not I don't discredit myself. I'm not confident, but that's overdoing it, dude. I'm not fucking Queen Elizabeth. And even Queen Elizabeth, I couldn't care. I mean, that's, you get me?
Yeah. Totally.
Very, very peculiar shit. I hope he never does that shit again. That didn't earn my respect. It did the opposite. It
Yeah.
was fucking weird. Yeah, dude. So we covered a hell of a lot of ground. For anyone that meets me, do not kiss my hand. I don't want it. And
I'll second that. Yeah.
yeah. So, Mr. Moff, it has been an absolute pleasure, bro. If there's anything else you do want to add, if there's anything else you just want to, whether it's plugging anything in, telling anyone to support you on Patreon or anywhere else, feel free. But I also wanted to ask if you wanted to just finish with any, uh, top off with any finishing points, any finishing thoughts.
Yeah. No, this has been
Or
fun,
just,
man. Like an hour and five is really like an hour's really blown by. This has been good. I'd love to do another one. Yeah, I would say the one thing that, I wish we definitely could have touched on more, maybe in a future episode, is just talking about, guys needing a tribe of men. This was the one big wake up for me, is realizing that I didn't have, a solid group of guys that I could bounce things off of. I got into a point where, my dad was my closest friend for a long, long time. He's still around, but you get to a point where you kind of transcend that, and you carve out your own path, and you leave the nest, and you have that sort of rite of passage, and you need to look to guidance from guys that have walked the path that you want to walk. And a lot of that comes from a tribe of strong, virtuous, masculine men that are trying to build captivating lives and not necessarily change the world, but insulate themselves from the bullshit of the world that tells men that they need to be small, they don't need to be strong. They need to shrink so others can be more. And they've had their time. And I'm here to say that men need to be banded together more than they ever have been. And there's nothing like a network of guys that can help you reach new heights and level up in all ways that men should be, whether that's fitness, finances, your romantic life, and just what it means to go through hard things and be a man. So I do have a community that I run with Rich. We've got a couple of different tiers, but entrepreneurs all the way down to, real estate agents, guys that are pilots, military folks, high level execs all over the world. We've got members. All we're focused on, getting together and doing fun things, but also doing hard things, putting a real dent in the universe, and creating a place for guys to be around other like-minded dudes, to insulate themselves from the nonsense that you see in the media, the mainstream. And so it's become my life's mission, man. Like, putting together a global group of badass guys that want to, be a part of something that everyone else is telling them that they shouldn't. So, yeah, every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we do the Ladies Night podcast on the Unplugged Alpha channel. I do my own solo show on that same channel Thursdays at 8. And then we've got a couple of other shows that are sprinkled out throughout the week. But yeah, man, this has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you having me. I had a great time.
Dude, my pleasure. My pleasure, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode, because I absolutely did. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, leave your comments. This has been another episode of the Soothing Semantics podcast with your host, Rafi Pinsky. Mr. Moff, thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Guys, obviously, real estate needs weekly newsletter. Check it out. Go to the Instagram and make sure to check out Rafi the Realtor, as well as Moff_unplugged. Make sure to check out all of Rich Cooper's social media, the Unplugged Alpha, Entrepreneurs in Cars, Rich Cooper clips, your YouTube. You have anything separate?
I do everything with them as of right now. So I
Okay,
know
so
Unplugged
everything's
Alpha
on.
channels where you'll find me.
Okay, awesome. And that is that, ladies and gents. Until next time.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.